Republic Act number 10927, which amended the Anti-Money Laundering Act or AMLA to include casinos, was a significant step in combating money laundering in the Philippines. However, as the gambling landscape evolves, particularly with the rise of online casinos, there is a pressing need to amend this law further. This proposal outlines two key recommendations. First, introduce a specific provisions addressing online casinos, and second is to establish a dedicated regulatory body to oversee compliance in both traditional and online gambling sectors. The current framework under RA 10927 lacks detailed regulations tailored specifically for online casinos. While the law broadly covers internet-based gambling, it does not adequately address the unique challenges posed by these platforms. Online casinos operate differently than brick-and-mortar establishments, often involving complex financial transactions that can be exploited for money laundering. Therefore, specific provisions are essential to ensure that all forms of gambling are subject to consistent and rigorous anti-money laundering measures. The existing regulations primarily focus on cash transactions exceeding 5 million without offering comprehensive guidelines for online operations. This oversight creates a regulatory gap that can be exploited by criminals seeking to launder money through unregulated or poorly regulated online platforms. By failing to delineate clear compliance requirements for online casinos, the law inadvertently allows these entities to operate with less scrutiny than their land-based counterparts. To rectify these deficiencies, the proposed amendments should include: first, mandatory reporting; second, transaction monitoring; third, regular audits; fourth, establishing a dedicated regulatory body. Facebook pagod dapat sa camera kay nilayo naka. In addition to amending RA 10927, there is a critical need to establish a dedicated regulatory body responsible for overseeing compliance in both traditional and online gambling sectors. Currently, the responsibility falls on multiple agencies including the AMLC and the PAGCOR, which can lead to fragmented enforcement and oversight.
A controversial topic in the Philippines, the Philippine Offshore Gaming Operators or POGO have drawn criticism as well as investment. POGOs are said to boost the economy, but I am convinced that the drawbacks of these operations greatly exceed any possible advantages. Concerns about POGOs include significant social issues, economic dependence, corruption, the effects on the local community, and wider economic hazards. The fact that POGOs are linked to a number of societal problems and criminal activity is among their most concerning features. These operations have been connected in reports to violent crimes, cyber scams, and human trafficking. There are risks that vulnerable people may be exploited as a result of the influx of foreign workers, especially from China. Through POGOs, the Philippines' increasing reliance on international markets is another serious worry. If geopolitical tensions develop or if China imposes more stringent prohibitions on its citizens engaging in offshore gaming, this dependence presents serious concerns. Such circumstances can cause the Philippine government and local companies who have grown dependent on this sector to see a sharp drop in income. Despite efforts at regulatory supervision, corruption is still a major problem in the POGO section. In addition to sustaining unlawful activity, this corruption undermines public trust in governmental institutions. An atmosphere where criminal activity can thrive and check is created when law enforcement is seen as participating in illicit operations, which exacerbates social problems and crime rates. Although POGOs do pay taxes and regulatory fees to the government, Their abrupt termination can have a major negative economic impact. Losses would have an effect on auxiliary businesses that depend on POGOs for their survival, in addition to individuals who work directly for them. Additionally, the possibility of lower government revenue would make it more difficult to fund infrastructure development and public services that are vital to the welfare of the community. To sum up, I oppose the POGO operation because I fully comprehend the detrimental effects it will have on local economies, society, and governance. Social problems associated with crime and human rights abuses are concerning. Reliance on international markets makes one vulnerable. Corruption erodes public confidence. Local communities are strained, and economic hazards are a major concern for this industry's future.
The effectiveness of anti-vice control programs in the Philippines, especially with relation to illegal narcotics and gambling enterprises like Philippine Offshore Gambling Operators or POGOs, demonstrates a complicated interaction between public legislative action, and implementation difficulties. To combat illegal drugs and use in crime associated to combat illegal drugs and use in crime associated to vice, the Philippine government has put in place a number of policies. President Rodrigo Roa Duterte established the Philippine Anti-Illegal Drug Strategy or the PADS, which attempts to establish a holistic strategy incorporating international collaboration, community involvement, and law enforcement. This strategy highlights the necessity for a balanced approach to combat the drug epidemic by emphasizing both robust enforcement and demand reduction programs. Public perception and legislative reaction, there is a range of public opinions regarding anti-vice campaigns. Many voice concerns about human rights abuses and corruption in the law enforcement, even while some support the government attempts to stop illicit activity. A statewide ban on POGOs has been proposed as part of the legislative solution to the increased crime rates associated with these activities. According to the recent data, POGO-related frauds has significantly decreased as a result of increased oversight and regulatory actions. Despite the government's effort, there are still obstacles for anti-vice measures may be implemented successfully. So the effort to stop unlawful activity are hampered by corruption in law enforcement. The battle against crime linked to vice has been made more difficult by reports of police complicity with the criminal syndicates. Additionally, the efficacy of community-based drug rehabilitation programs is hampered by the lack of resources and training available to local authorities. When evaluating the effectiveness of anti-vice control programs in the Philippines, it is evident that although considerable efforts are being made, the outcomes are not entirely consistent. For the change to the sustained community involvement and law enforcement must be balanced. To improve the efficacy of its anti-vice initiative, the government must prioritize human rights and eliminate systemic corruption as it negotiates these complicated issues. A thorough evaluation of current policies is necessary going forward. This entails assessing how POGOs affect society and taking into account alternate revenue streams, increasing community participation in rehabilitation initiatives, public safety of welfare. Increasing community participation in rehabilitation initiative may also result in better results when it comes to addressing vice-related problems here in the country, here in the
Social learning theory and family influence on criminal behavior. In criminology, understanding how individuals learn behaviors through social interactions, especially within families, is crucial. Ronald Akers' social learning theory builds on Edwin Sutherland's work, highlighting Criminal behaviors are acquired through observation and reinforcement in social environments. Family dynamics and cultural norms significantly impact individuals' behavior, including activities related to Philippine offshore gaming operators or partners. Children may adopt harmful behaviors if family members engage in or normalize gambling illicit activities. Broader control, cultural context accepts or promotes such behaviors. To address Pogos-related crimes, stakeholders must recognize how socialization, agents, family peers shape conduct. Effective interventions require a holistic approach addressing family influences, cultural norms, and social learning mechanisms. By doing so, we can foster healthier social norms and reduce criminal activity associated with gambling operations. Social learning theory explains how behavior are learned through social interactions. Family and cultural influence shape individual behavior. Normalizations of harmful behaviors can lead to criminal activity, and holistic interventions addressing socialization ages and cultural norms are essential.
The social learning theory, developed by Ronald Akers, explores how social environments shape behavior through observation and reinforcement. It suggests that criminal actions are learned in specific contexts rather than being innate, building on Edwin Sutherland's differential association. Family relation and cultural norms significantly impact behavior, particularly regarding activities like Philippine offshore gaming operations or POGO. By examining socialization process, research can understand how social and familiar factors normalize behaviors, influence crime rates, and shape societal standards, ultimately informing strategies to address criminal behavior. Influence of family as a socialization agent. Children who Children who grow up in a setting where gambling and other illegal activities are accepted by come to see these habits as a normal. If family members participate in or talk about pogo-related activities without suffering any negative consequences, kids might copy these actions because they think they are socially accepted. Individual conduct may also be influenced by the larger cultural background surrounding by vice and gambling. People may have been conditioned to see a gambling as a normal rather than abnormal in cultures where it is common and tolerated. To sum up, the social learning theory offers a useful framework for comprehending how socialization agents such as peers and family affecting behaviors social associated with POGO offenses. In situations where POGOs have a significant influence, stakeholders can create more successful interventions to prevent crime by understanding the process by which behavior are learned and reinforced. In order to promote healthy social standards and lessen the criminal behavior related to gaming enterprises, it is imperative that these elements be addressed comprehensively